come on. Long before Meghan Markle stepped into the royal spotlight, people in her circle were already saying she had a different kind of hustle going on, nothing wild, but a sharp, calculated way of moving through the social scene and little substance. And that's how it felt for me at the time, being reduced to this specific archetype. While other actresses were stressing over auditions, she was polishing a skill that didn't need a stage, working rooms, reading people, and lining up the right connections with a smile that looked effortless. Forget crowns and shiny tiaras for a second. Folks who watched her rise said her real playground wasn't a palace at all. You something. I talked about the great Megyn Kelly was the Megyn Kelly Show, founded on YouTube series Exhume podcast. It was Soho House that members only hang out for people with money, power, and plenty of time to make moves, and right beside her through every invite, every casual laugh, every fancy night out was Markus Anderson, the guy many described as the man who could flip someone from unknown to everywhere fast. Like a Sanderson is very unique in the Make a Mark of Disposable Friends series, because Markets is indispensable. Let's talk about Markus Anderson, the dude who supposedly climbed from serving drinks to being trusted with serious VIP secrets before Meghan ever showed up on the royal radar. Markus had already built himself a slick reputation. Honestly, like there is no end to this woman's deceptive nature, to her abject dishonesty. That's what we're seeing here. She does this podcast with Paris Hilton. He started out at Soho House, London as staff, sure, but insiders swore he wasn't just delivering cocktails, he was delivering charm with precision, and people remembered him for it. Markus had a vibe that made powerful folks feel like he was someone they needed around. By the time Meghan crossed paths with him, he had already reinvented himself from regular employee to quiet gatekeeper of the elite circle. If you wanted access, a lot of people said you went through Markus and Meghan. Sharp as ever. Notice that fast she does this guess with Paris Hilton on how maybe both it's so wrong. While Paris Hilton made millions of dollars off of that label, leaned into it robustly, that what she discusses in the pocket. People close to the scene claimed Meghan spotted opportunity the way a hawk spots prey. Markus had networks, connections, and influence, and she wanted to learn everything she could. Soon enough, she was joining trips linked to Soho House events. But Meghan Markle, you see my own at Meghan Markle, wants to complain about being objectified when she was suitcase girl number 24, like she really thought somebody was going to talk to her about how meeting producers, creatives, executives, you name it. She didn't just meet market. This she held on tight, because she saw the value. 24 actually is the number of genome in the measles sequence of she had no idea, which I couldn't, even a number of the suitcase. It's ridiculous. He opened doors, and she made sure she walked right through with confidence. It wasn't some cute fairy tale story. It was strategy, plain and simple, no crime. Without Markus Anderson, I hope to prove to you in this video that Meghan Markle wouldn't have the level of global fame that she enjoys now. Nothing shady, just straight ambition. Some folks even said Markus gave Meghan what Hollywood hadn't: instant social credibility. Suddenly she wasn't just that actress from Suits, she became someone people wanted at the table. And Markus, or did she? Do you know? Did you run for Senate? Did she? He'd try to get a law degree. She go back to med school now. Now she wants us to believe he didn't hide from the spotlight. Hey, the people said even the strongest power players like a bit of shy now. And then if ambition had a face, some people joke it would look like Meghan with a designer bag, or infamy depends. Hey, you look at it. But I really don't think she would be in the position she's in without Markus Anderson moving through the scene with Markus and us, and right beside her. That bond wasn't about jokes or late-night giggles. It ran on mutual benefit and shot timing. Markus knew everybody who mattered, and Meghan wanted to grow. Like, why would she say that? Like, I actually also pose for a saucy picture. One point my life, I was 40, I was a news anchor, I was pregnant. Eileen, simple as that. Together they turned into a social duo that had people whispering, climbing through elite circles faster than most could process. Markus introduced her to designers, filmmakers, entrepreneurs. She is embarrassed that she's vain and vapid, and That's why she can't just own those moments, the kind of crowd that turns someone from an actress into a headline name, and Meghan absorbed everything like it was air. She needed to breathe to her. Marcus wasn't just a friend. He was a door that kept opening. He set up gatherings. She worked the energy of the room. He lined up chances. She delivered the two. Charm. Little by little, Meghan shifted from hustling for small roles. The thing is that because her ambition and her sense of self is that or should be the senator, the president, she's trying to pretend that these things in her backstory to showing up beside global influences like it was nothing. But here's why. Things got spicy. People close to Soho House whispered that Marcus allegedly arranged that quiet weekend trip at Soho farmhouse that she had to overcome, like poverty or dyslexia or something. That it's or no, because you went to an audition, the same place Meghan ended up crossing paths with Prince Harry. Coincidence? A lot of folks didn't think so. Marcus might not have worn a crown, but people liked joking he played kingmaker better than most. Every introduction you say that, I want to do this because it was form due, but instead she has to in order to achieve her next goal. Every moment, every chance meeting felt like part of a bigger strategy. Meghan wasn't depending on luck, she depended on planning, and Marcus was her sharpest asset. When Meghan stepped into royal life, many of her old friends faded into the background, but Marcus, she has to turn around and redefine her past, or the people would for you less angry because I don't know. Deliver feel positive about a bit less angry if you just earned runs and job or look good. Why wouldn't you move on? He stayed right there while some Hollywood acquaintances kept their distance from royal drama. Marcus somehow slipped into the palace orbit with no title, no royal background. Nothing but influence, loyalty, and charm. He turned up everywhere. No pre-wedding gatherings, private vacations, dinners behind closed doors. Palace staff didn't know what to label him. To them, Marcus wasn't just a visitor or a buddy, he was always around. That's why some royal watchers started calling him Meghan's shadow. Now Marcus started off as Soho House London as a waiter, and he worked his way up. No, this isn't a standing story in itself. He worked his way up to global membership director. People said that every time Meghan popped up somewhere unexpected, Marcus wasn't too far behind. He wasn't staff, but he had the presence. He wasn't family, but he moved like someone who belonged in. Yes, the royals noticed quietly, carefully, and sometimes nervously. Marcus didn't follow palace protocol. He didn't bow, didn't worry about hierarchy, and didn't care about traditional rules. His loyalty was strictly to Meghan, and that made a lot of people uncomfortable. Whispers started reading that Marcus still had influence in her decisions even after she became a duchess. Some claimed he was advising her quietly from behind the scenes. In royal circles, nobody gets that close without people asking why, and Marcus and his job was to find the best and brightest of that city to invite to the founding members' party. And they didn't just invite anybody, always seemed to be right there. Then came the moment that set insiders buzzing. It started with a single whisper. Source close to Marcus dropping a mysterious line about his unbreakable bond, and his silence, oh, that was the loudest part of all. In the social scene of the city way they were opening up. Now it always worried me that all of the biographers that have done books on Meghan Markle, and also a lot of people that have done interviews and magazine articles with Meghan, and in the world of royal gossip, one whisper is enough to light a whole firestorm within hours. Tabloids went wild. Headlines claimed that Marcus, Meghan's super trusted friend, had finally said too much. Suddenly every trip, every old photo, every friendly dinner was being spun into something dramatic. Palace PR teams scrambled, phone rang non-stop, and stories were getting pulled within minutes. Meghan, already dealing with non-stop press drama, suddenly faced a brand storm, and this one came from inside her own circle. Marcus kept quiet, not a denial, not a hint, not even a soft "this isn't true," just pure silence. And that silence hit harder than any headline because it made people start asking the real question: what did Marcus actually know? Insiders said Meghan felt the sting like a deep cut, especially coming from the same man who once helped shape her rise. It was the twisted plot nobody expected. The person who helped polish her image was now the one making her look exposed, and his quiet act only made the whole thing louder when the so-called Marcus leak broke into the press. People inside Buckingham Palace were acting like monarchy got slapped without warning. You could almost feel the panic jumped from London straight across the ocean behind those stone walls. It turned into madness, assistants racing around, phones ringing non-stop. And so I went for a bit of a deep dive, and I found that a Wrong Turn Life social pages, and they were portion only opening night of the Toronto Soho House. And it was very interesting to see who they mentioned in that column, everyone wondering how someone from the Soho House crowd suddenly shook the Royal Foundation. The PR team called it containment, but insiders said it felt more like survival mode. They wanted answers: who spoke, who leaked, and what Markus Anderson might be hiding, because the way they saw it, if he ever decided to spill everything he knew, the palace wouldn't know where to hide the shine on their crowns. Meanwhile, Meghan's people run around trying to patch the situation. Soft statements floated around about loyalty, misunderstandings and long friendships, but it was too late. The world already had its headline: Meghan Markle betrayed by someone once closest to her. And Marcus, he didn't post, he didn't show up anywhere, he didn't breathe online. The guy who once couldn't walk into a party without somebody snapping a photo turned into a full ghost overnight. That silence didn't calm anything down, it made everything worse, because in royal circles silence doesn't mean innocence, it means someone's holding heavy information. The palace wanted the story dead. Meghan wanted it erased, but tabloids smelled scandal, and once they get even a drop of drama, they don't back off. They treat it like treasure. After the fallout, Markus Anderson's name turned into something people whispered, not said. Prince Harry thinks he's a working member of the royal family of will think. What planet are this ever me with weird duo? The answer, of course, is planet Sussex, where goodness knows anything goes. No one day Dad mentioned him publicly, but behind closed doors everybody knew he'd seen everything: private dinners, tense conversations, late-night phone calls. He knew what Meghan said when the cameras were off, and he knew her real feelings about her new royal reality. That was the part that made everyone uneasy. Marcus wasn't just a friend he was an eyewitness to her transformation, how stress, her ambition, and her struggles. Old photos started resurfacing: Marcus and Meghan laughing at events, traveling together, leaning in close during conversations. Tabloids twisted every shot into evidence of betrayal, plotting, or something deeper inside the palace. They didn't call it friendship, they called it a threat. Rumors spread that advisors tried to warn Meghan about keeping Marcus too close, especially after private details kept showing up in the media from random sources. Marcus didn't defend himself, he didn't clear the air, he didn't deny it. His silence became a power move, because when someone who knows that much goes quiet, everyone else starts sweating. For Meghan, it became a walking nightmare. One wrong word from Marcus could make her whole royal story collapse like a bad PR stunt. But Marcus stayed silent for a while, and that made the world lean in even closer. Then out of nowhere, years later, Marcus appeared again, not with a book deal or a documentary, but with a soft confession at a private event that mysteriously leaked online. His tone was calm to calm. Royal watchers said he didn't drag Meghan, but he didn't protect her either. He dropped lines like "the truth people believe isn't always the truth that happened," which had everyone whispering. Translate actions like "he knows things" is called the bond, the banter, the bravery, what it means to be British behind the gilded gates of the Montecito Promise in the California, and some he shares with his Tinseltown wife. And he knows, we know, he knows things. He called Meghan deeply misunderstood and fiercely did term, and which sounded sweet on the surface, but many heard something different. It wasn't betrayal, but it wasn't loyalty. It was that careful middle ground that makes people suspicious. Inside royal circles, insiders were heated. They called it calculated. They're so she's gonna be in the movies against gonna star in a big damage control. Meghan's critics labeled it a soft confession, and for Meghan herself, reports said she was furious not because he exposed her, but because he didn't deny anything either. He added haze to a story she wanted buried after that half-confession. Nothing was the same. The scandal settled down, but the damage stayed. Meghan's one. Its big circle of influencers, stylists, and friendly faces shrunk down to a handful of people she trusted with her whole chest. Trust became something she couldn't hand out easily anymore. Everyone could turn into a leak, a headline, a quiet danger. Markus faded back into the shadows, his comfort zone. No more fly she events, no more cozy photos, no more being the social king. He stepped away quietly, and people noticed the silence even more. The tabloids eventually chased news stories, but the scars never fully healed. Meghan was branded ambitious, strategic, hard to please, every harsh label they could find, and Markus, he became the ghost in her story, the man who could destroy her legacy with one interview, but never did. Some called that loyalty, others called it survival, because Markus knew airing everything could blow his life up. For both of them, this was the cost of ambition. The higher they climbed, the thinner the air, the fewer people they could trust. Once they were unstoppable, a powered you are running through elite, seems like they own the game. Now they're remembered as to cautionary lessons from the same glittering world that lifted them up and pushed them off at the same time. In the end, Meghan and Markus, his tale feels less like friendship and more like a haunting, something that sticks around, follows her name, and never fully fades. He was there before the royal titles, before the dramas, before everything flipped. He watched her grind as an actress, rise as a duchess, and lose parts of herself along the journey. Markus never cashed out. He didn't sell a book. He didn't run to the cameras, but he didn't protect her either. His silence became the biggest message, a quiet warning about what happens when ambition meets pressure and loyalties start cracking. Meghan chased power, Markus chased access. Together they built a bright image full of charm and illusion, and when it cracked, both of them were left staring at the fallout, pretending not to look back at the wreckage behind them. Maybe Markus held her secrets out of respect, or maybe he's just waiting for the right moment. Either way, the world keeps asking what really went down between them, because in Meghan's world, every friendship seems to have an ending, and every lie eventually becomes a headline. Markus walked away quietly, but the shadow he left still follows Meghan.